Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment in the series we call Breakdowns. How do I pick the rig for breakdowns? Sometimes somebody says something in a comment. Sometimes somebody mentions it on the Discord. Sometimes I wander over and I look at the racks and I go, that's the guy that goes today. Today goes LoLo. Why is LoLo named LoLo? Why does LoLo have no body clips? LoLo is named such because LoLo, this is a two-low gearbox and a high-low chassis, which had been cut up, a second-hand high-low chassis, which has been cut up quite a bit. It used to be a bit longer at both ends, if I understand. I've never seen one that hasn't been modified. And if you take a two-low and a high-low, you have a LoLo. LoLo runs the battery over here, runs all the electronics over there. Rhino V80, piped into a Holmes Revolver V2 2200. It is a two-low gearbox feeding Mias nylon axles. I think I would go so far as to say the second set of Mias nylon axles that I ever purchased. LoLo has been around for a little while. Chavtech shocks, front and rear with deluxe mediums in the front, and buckle yourself up for this, deluxe ultra softs in the rear. So that is 1.45 pound springs in the front and 0.04 pound springs in the rear. It is a strange thing. It came to be this way because this is the way that works. We used whatever links we could find, whatever links were available to try to get a shock attachment point there attaching to the points. Did I make these or are these from something else? These are from something else. The front driveline angle gets ridiculous at full droop. Luckily, we don't spend a lot of time at full droop. Flash Hobby 50 kg, the 8.4 coreless magnetic variety. This is run off of receiver power, and you just opt to run off of receiver power when you've got a Rhino V80 because it's got a 10 amp BEC in it on dips, so it can handle it just fine. He's got 30% to the rear out of the two-low, and then if memory serves, he is running a 827 in the rear. I don't think he's an 833 in the front. I think he's an 827 in the rear to take us to around 20% net, because 20% net is where we like to live. He is unique in a number of ways, one of which is that he is running J-Concepts megalithics, which is not unique in any way, but those megalithics are fitted with, are they shimmed? Unshimmed, unmodified Injora blue silicone inserts. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work, but it does. A lot about LoLo. I mean, if you want to talk about Spartan, if you want to talk about where are all the wires, the only wires out in the open are coming out of the motor and going into the speed control. And as I said, Velcro, magnets, one screw, the same screw that attaches the jack as the screw that attaches his rear mount, with a little bit of 3M tape at the front, a little Velcro there, a little Velcro there, magnets front and rear. And the way I did this, and yes, a little bit of back padding on my part on this one, it's the little things. This is servo horn thing. It's the little things, which is I drilled it and put one screw through it, mounted the magnet to it, took him like this. The magnets will lock down. The magnets will lock down. Clack. You go like that. And then while he was locked down, I made the mark for the other hole and then drilled and tapped the other hole. I did that both in the front and in the rear. LoLo does the trick. I did that both front and rear because with the angle of the hood. The front one is angled quite a good bit, and the rear one is angled a bit as well. And then I use the rear to attach just cheap Amazon shock keys, and even better still, you see how there's 3 screws through there? Well, the bottom one is just to stop it from pivoting. So the bottom one is so tight in the hole it doesn't even need a lock nut to hold it. Aluminum uppers in the rear. He's got TRX4 angled. Those are Jado. These are big 20-degree bend axial. Jado, Revo, Element. He's got pretty much every rod end to get him on there. Big brass weights in the front, no weights in the back. He runs a deep wheel, but he runs 6mm hubs all the way around to pull the width back down. This is a guy who is really an embodiment of the Canyon build. Like, take a bunch of parts, throw them together, and see how it does. And he has traditionally been one of the top end performers here. We must, of course, point out Coyote, right? Coyote. Proline Coyote, painted by Curtis Knudsen. And of course, it looks amazing. And how amazing does it look? It looks amazing to the point where people will point it out and say, wow, that body looks really great. And I'm like, thanks, because it is one that I didn't paint. Everybody's favorite are the bodies that I didn't paint, and I can't even get mad about it because I'm not going through this amount of work to paint a body. He's got the Vanquish Products windshield banner, and I think he's got a Vanquish spur and slipper. Yes, he does. He has a Vanquish spur and slipper, and thus ends the number of Vanquish parts that are on there. Amazon 6-spoke beadlock kit bashed together to get a silver black theme. He looks good. He feels good. He's one of those guys that is firmly in that position of, this one's pretty much done. Like, he doesn't need more stuff. We've got what we need, and he does the things, and he's competing right up against all of the other up at the, Jake the Snake and guys like that up at the top. And that is something to be appreciated. As far as I'm concerned, it really is. Every once in a while, we get it right early, and we don't have to get overwhelmingly iterative. And with how long LoLo has been here in this configuration, over 2 years, I want to say he's definitely into his 3rd year, and is still competitive against his stablemates. And I can't ask for much more. Nothing that I would regard as exotic, but just a performer all around. And the kind of build that I don't actively set out to reproduce. They don't all have to be line slayers, He is a level of performance that I'm comfortable with. LoLo is a 95% guy. He is 95% of the way to optimize performance. And if you want to additionally optimize that performance, if you want to get into that last percent, the time involvement is greater than the time involvement was to build him and run him initially. It's chasing all of these tiny little things. So the 50 kg and the Holmes V2 and the Rhino V80 and the Megs, it does everything asked. And that's pretty good. How does he sit lengthwise? He sits pretty good. Well, that high-low, as you can tell by those front uppers, is the skid is way forward. Way forward. I consider skid forward, you've got to be, I would say 30% longer, rear versus front. This guy is 183 rears and got to get out the shorter ruler, and 85 fronts. So we've got almost 100 millimeters, 4 inches longer on the rear lowers than the front lowers, and he just does the thing. Couple little custom-made bits here and there. The body mounts Delrin, the aluminum for the slider bits, and he does need sliders because there was no way to get battery on servo and axle. We couldn't go Boso on this one because he'd put the battery right into the hood, because the way that those kooky frame rails are, like, look where the kooky frame, when he's at ride height, look where the frame rails sit relative to the axle, and it goes all the way down. He gets good articulation. He's got good forward drive. He's got a good overall balanced feel about him. Just a good guy. A good guy for any good day here in the canyon. I'm going to mention it now, because where else am I going to mention it? Whenever people come out to the canyon, I always hope that they're going to say, hey, can I drive that one? Or that one? Or that one? And I've only had like 2 or 3 people. Maybe they feel like they're being too forward. If you're watching this and you happen to end up here at any point in your life and you want to drive something, you just say, hey, would it be okay if I drove so-and-so? And so long as he's not broken, and so long as there's a battery on hand, the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. If somebody wants to feel what a rig feels like, so that I can, because I talk a lot about feel in the videos, and I know it doesn't translate through the camera that much, all you got to do is say. Just say, and then you can do, and then we will have, and then we will be done, just like we're done right now. Thanks so much, everybody. Try to get in at least one breakdown a week, and this week, I almost forgot. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Canyon. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and in between now and when we meet again. Please, one and all, do your very best to have a good one, everybody. There's just loose zip ties all over they're just everywhere. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Farewell from the Canyon.